everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So, the movie of today is Assassin's Creed, based on the famous video games. I'm just going to say this before we start, that I don't know anything about the video games. I haven't played a single second. The only thing I sort of know is that it is some sort of a adventure game, and it takes place during different parts of historical times and stuff like that, and you take big leaps of faith from buildings and things like that. That is the only thing I know. So I don't know whether or not this is a good representation of the games or not, but that is probably for the comment section. Now, one thing that made me a little bit curious when it comes to Assassin's Creed, when it was going to be released, was why is the director and the two main stars of the movie Macbeth attached to this movie? Was this some sort of a trade-off? Did Sony Pictures tell them, well, we will finance your movie Macbeth, but only if you agree to star in our big blockbuster movie Assassin's Creed? And they said, well, okay, we'll do that. Or was it because they liked working with each other so much that they said, well, let's make this movie together? I don't know, but I'm kind of curious about it. It's kind of a weird coincidence that both movies have basically the same people behind and in front of the camera. So I was really actually looking forward to this movie. I thought that this movie, could be, the one who breaks the curse, that finally we were gonna get a good video game movie. Now, that didn't end up happening, and this movie was kind of forgotten, almost immediately upon release. But I will say this, if Johnny Dumbfuck would have directed this one, and if it would have, starring my little darling Dagmar and Pats McGee or something like that, it probably would have been an even worse experience. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? This is Assassin's Creed. So the Knights Templar, they have a mission. They're going to save humanity by eliminating man's ability to have individual thoughts, because having individual thoughts leads to violence and war and unpredictability. Basically, the Knights Templars wants you to trade in your personal freedom for security and a brighter future. How are they going to do that? By finding the Apple of Eden. The Apple of Eden is said to contain man's first defiant against God, and therefore the seed of man's ability to have, opinions and thinking for themselves and stuff like that. So that is the agenda of the Knights Templar. Against them stands the assassin who believes in, individual freedom and all that good stuff. That is sort of the basics of this movie. And how does Michael Fassbender fit into this? Michael Fassbender plays Cal. He is on death row and, awaiting his execution and stuff like that. And then, he is presumed to be, executed and stuff like that. But he wakes up in a sort of prison, in Madrid, led by Jeremy Irons, which is called The Foundation. He is here because he is the last living descendant of the last person who had the Apple of Eden. And the Foundation, which is sort of the new face of the Knights Templars, offers him a deal. Help them to obtain the Apple of Eden, and they will provide him with a new identity, having a fresh start and stuff like that, because they have this machine that when hooked up to, he can relive what his ancestor did in Andalusia 1492. Yes, we're doing the entire Columbus thing. So is he going to help them? Are they going to be able to obtain the Apple of Eden? Or is Marion Cotillard going to be able to change his mind about certain things and stuff like that? So that's basically our story. Now, in this movie, we will spend roughly 75% in present-day Madrid, in this sort of high-tech / low-tech prison, which I think I've seen in tons of movies during the 2000s and 2010s and even 2020s, when this was all the rage with, cool location things. this presented me with a little bit of a problem, because the Andalusian bit was obviously a more interesting from a visual perspective, and was, the more fascinating location, rather than this, mundane, super high-tech prison thing. Where we have all these classical prison cliches and stuff like that, and there's not really a lot of stuff happening in the Madrid location. The only action was basically in Andalusia. The problem there was that Fassbender, he cannot control or interact with his ancestors back in Andalusia 1492. So this becomes a bit like, watching somebody else playing a video game rather than you playing the actual video game, which made, that thing feels a little bit, I'm not really interested in it. It basically had the same problem as Sucker Punch, but not quite as atrocious as that movie's problem was. And as I said, there wasn't a lot of things happening in present day. In Andalusia, they had some decent enough adventure stuff, including a very cool and very fun rooftop chase, which also highlighted why this movie definitely should have been rated R, because a PG-13 version of Assassin's Creed didn't work, in my opinion. As I said, haven't played the game, but I know that the Assassin's Creed games are supposed to be quite violent and I think rated 18 and stuff like that, so that was something that hampered this movie quite a lot. But I thought still that we were on the precipice of achieving something when we were gearing up for the finale. The finale came, and oh boy, was it a letdown. It was almost exclusively sequel baiting. Not a lot of action, and it was quite boring and quite underwhelming. Okay. So what do we have here? We have a decent action-adventure movie with not that many cool action sequences, mostly taking place in a boring, cliched, mundane, and quite uninteresting place, instead of a much cooler setting where we do not really take place in what's happening. What's happened has already happened, and we're just watching what happened to try to deduct the entire story. That doesn't sound very exciting. I had quite high hopes for this movie. I thought that this one could have been at least a fun adventure movie, but we didn't get that either. Fassbender is very good. Cotillard is very good. The movie looks very good. I really like the sequences where, Jeremy Irons is talking to his daughter, and the discussions they have, they're fascinating, but they all sort of leading up towards the sequel that will never come, because this movie did quite, bad at the box office, and nobody's really crying out for a sequel to this. So should you see this movie? No, not really. If you're a huge fan of Assassin's Creed, I bet you will find a lot of small little Easter eggs that you will like, and if you like, war adventure movies, there are better movies. For instance, I think Prince of Persia is actually both a better adaptation of a video game and a better movie, generally speaking, even though that movie is also equipped with its own bunch of problems. But, I like the Mummy movies are better than this one. Even the sort of crappy sequels were actually better. And it feels like I've seen this movie before, but better. As video game movies does, I've seen worse, and the lack of action and lack of suspense and lack of mystery to the whole thing really didn't work in this movie's favor. And when you start dissecting the story, which you ultimately are forced to do because, well, there isn't a lot of things happening, you soon realize that, wait a minute, this story is kind of stupid. This is kind of dumb, actually, so it doesn't work really there either. This is an underwhelming, uneventful adventure movie, which I can only give 40 points. We have really great people behind the camera and in front of the camera, but they are unable to lift this movie higher up than 40 points. It isn't a bad movie, it's just pretty uninteresting. So I'll see you next time for, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.